Welcome to the Eavesdrop podcast, everybody. Thank you for joining. We have a great show in store for you. Let's go ahead and meet everybody. Todd, how you doing?
Man, I'm so blessed. I want to say thank you to Living Spaces because they really decorated this set to the T, and these chairs feel amazing.
They do.
Yes, they do.
All right. Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I can't complain. We're here. Another episode in the books.
Another episode in the books. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we have a great show planned, and we're about to introduce our guest. I'd like to introduce Corinne Schendel, registered nurse. How you doing, Corinne?
Great. I'm excited.
Oh, yes. We have a good show in store for you. So let's get going with the introduction. So ICU nurse for over 12 years, trauma nursing, high acuity nursing with a specialty in stroke patients, also response nurse, resource nurse, charge relief nurse. Expand on all those, the trauma, the high acuity, the response, the resource, charge relief,
When I first graduated, I started in a level 1 trauma ICU.
Okay.
And it was a sink or swim kind of situation. So did a couple years there, and it led me to where I am today, to where resource nurse is helping everybody out. Rapid response nurse is kind of taking care of the whole hospital when emergencies happen. And I just grew into being charge and kind of knowing every aspect of my job.
Beautiful. I love it. What is did you touch on high acuity?
Yeah, high acuity is as far as the level of care for each patient. The higher the acuity, the more that they need
More.
as far as care goes.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. We ask questions regarding things that might have been a defining moment or even a significant, part of what makes you who you are today. You had shared with us that some of the things that really defined you were putting yourself through nursing school while having 2 young daughters. And then I guess your husband was sick at the time as well, became severely ill and was hospitalized with failing liver.
Mm-hmm.
Share with your own words what that was like, and why that kind of shaped you.
Yeah, I think from an early age, I was the caretaker in the family. A lot of elderly family members, grandparents, and such. So I naturally was in that position to help the family take care of. My grandmother became an amputee, and doing all of her, care, like her daily care and showering. And then my mom was in and out of a hospital bed in the house with all kinds of, C6 through 8, fusions and spinal cord fusions and neuropathy, all kinds of things. So it was naturally just in me to kind of be the caretaker of the family. I went kind of straight into the mainstream work. It was in mortgages, and realized that is not what I should have been doing for the rest of my life. And at the same time, I actually started to go back to school. We found out that my husband at that time had an autoimmune disorder that attacked his liver. And so within the first year and a half of our marriage, we found out he had a full sclerotic liver, and it wasn't functioning, and that he would eventually need a liver transplant. So I was already going to school full time when we found this out. And we had our 2 daughters that kindergarten, let's say like 3rd grade, right in there.
Oh, wow.
And so trying to study full time while taking care of those girls and taking care of a sick husband while we waited for a liver transplant was, at least it was trying. It was,
I was going to say stressful.
It was everything under the sun that you can think of. Having to kind of shut the door and lock it while your 2 little ones are like, "Mommy," it takes a wear on you, but at the same time, it was so worth it.
Yeah.
What I do now, it was so worth it. I was able to provide for my family once I finished and graduated while we went through the rest of his transplant.
Interesting. And we didn't even include the fact that, your own personal life, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So there was the husband, the children, the school, and then just like you needed to come and take a break to get your sanity going, right?
You would think, yeah. Right? Where's the self-care? Where if you're go, it gets, that's on the back burner.
Correct.
Because you're taking care of everybody else.
Wow. And then I didn't I think what even adds more to that is the age of your daughters. They weren't like teenagers where like,
No.
oh, go over there. You know, it was like, Mom, where are you? Mom,
Yeah.
mom, you know, and then
And I have to give props to the moms that actually put themselves back through school. I went to nursing school, with a couple other single moms with infants, and it's
That's tough.
you find a strong woman there. So
Yeah.
How did they make you feel, if you don't mind me asking, to see ladies that had younger children than you? Or
their drive is insane. Nursing school is not for the faint of heart at all. There were a lot of tears in study groups, but their drive was for their kids. The drive is to be able to take care of your family. Their drive and the way they pursued it and the way they tackled everything was inspiring.
You're actually touching on my daughter that's a nurse. You know, she did that with, you know, the baby being 1 year old.
Yeah.
You know, and so what you're saying, I think without me actually necessarily hearing her say that, I think I know what you
Absolutely.
mean. Yeah. So you said after graduating is when you got hired into the level 1 trauma nurse and
I
spent
did,
2 years
as a
there.
brand new grad.
Brand new grad. And you define this as the worst of the worst cases. What does that mean to say the worst of the worst cases?
The stuff, yeah. It's the blood, guts, and gore of nursing when you do level 1, special neuro-based, the car accidents. And if I can be a little gory,
yeah.
warning, brain matter coming out of the ears, failed suicide attempts with their eyeballs blown out.
Wow.
I don't know if we want to get that
you
crazy,
can-
you
but
can
go as
say
deep
whatever
as
you want.
can, yeah.
I remember my very first, no joke, very first day on my own. We're in huddle. You go to huddle as nurses before you start your shift. You get your assignments. The charge nurse led in with, hey, so-and-so, your patient's on the way. They just got choppered here. Her arm is on the bedside table, but they've taken her to OR. And I kind of giggled. Like, I didn't know, legit, the arm was on the bedside table.
Wow, they meant it.
Yeah. So she had her window open, arm was out the window, severed right at the arm. They couldn't reattach it. And it was in a biohazard bag on the bedside table. And I went, what have I gotten myself into? Let's go.
Wow.
It's just my, like I was like, let's
You were ready
do
to
this.
aid?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is the some of the interests that my daughter had used to surprise me. I was like, you're interested in that? But your response right now is, I guess you need to be built for that.
Yeah. In ICU, you're either built for ICU or you're not. Yeah. I mean, some people know right away they want to do L&D. They want to be a labor delivery nurse. They want to be delivering those babies. They want to help the moms. I had a couple interests, but I knew right away I wanted ICU.
One more trauma, worst of the worst case, before we move on.
That was deep.
Only one, huh?
I was already like, ow.
Ooh,
We could narrow it down to one.
God, one. Oh, there's so
I can't
many.
believe you.
I know,
So many.
I can't believe you, Ruben. How can you even ask her this stuff?
It's just
I
one.
don't know how
one
you
more.
want to. We could go gory. We can go mild.
yeah,
I don't know
no,
where you
no,
want to
no,
go.
no.
I'll go wherever you want to go.
Extreme.
Extreme.
Deep conversation.
Car accident.
Okay.
They had tried to take her to OR. Her entire abdomen was left open just because they couldn't. And we were, she was in a single room and we were trying to keep her alive so that her loved ones could come and say goodbye. And she was bleeding so profusely off the table that we were stuffing towels and just rapidly transfusing blood products just to keep her alive. And it was saturating the towels and it was dripping off of the bed.
Wow.
As we were trying to keep her alive.
How did she stay alive to say goodbye, or did she?
It was, I mean, she's not alert or oriented.
You guys
at
have
this
machines
point.
to keep them to breathe, though,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was just
Wait,
probably the most bloodiest. I mean, we could go on forever. I've got
Was-
stories for days.
Well,
but
was the family able to see?
Yeah.
In that situation?
came in, yeah,
What?
came in to the bedside and got to be able to say their goodbyes.
Wow.
That's deep. Wow. I didn't know that the hospital would allow the family to see them
If
in
they're
that
on their
state.
way, absolutely.
How would you describe what switches on and off in you? Because you spring into action. You're no longer
Yeah, you go
absorbing
into
that.
critical thinking mode.
Yeah.
You're just it becomes so second nature to what you need to do. And if you're not going to do it, who is?
Right.
So it's just in me to to just go and hands on and let's dive in there. Cause then you've got a teamwork. You've got all these other ICU strong nurses that all play a role in taking care of a patient like that.
Wow. All right, I lied. One more.
Okay.
But here.
Excuse me.
One,
Guys,
one.
Forgive him. Please forgive
Sorry,
Ruben.
man, I'm
This
sorry.
episode, forgive him,
Round
please.
2.
One.
Round 4.
All right, and I hate that I gotta say like this, but I'm curious. You know, I mean, you have the stories. A heartbreaking one.
Probably one of the more was I wasn't in level 1, and it was during COVID, and I was rapid response nurse. So I got called to a separate floor outside of the ICU. And at that time, we were losing really young people to this respiratory, failure. And we had a gentleman that was young, like maybe barely 40 or early 40s. He had a young teenage daughter. And at that time, we wouldn't allow family members into the room. And so he was actively passing away. And I asked my resource nurse to actually go in and hold his hand and be there with him. And I held the young daughter at the door while she just wailed, watching her dad die.
Damn. Yeah, that's the heart wrencher right there.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Woo! All right. Well, that's our intro,
Okay.
folks.
Okay, Ruben. Okay.
That's just the
Okay, take it
intro.
easy.
What we typically do is we
Excuse me, guys.
get a good gauge about the things that you're passionate about talking about, what you feel you're an expert in, things and beliefs and messages that you feel strongly about, and what spark good conversation. And then we go ahead and we formulate a whole bunch of questions that all three of us are going to participate in, kind of just rapid fire going around and giving you these questions. Take a deep breath and get ready, because we're gonna hit you up with some good.
As ready as I'm gonna be.
Yeah, and feel free to answer them however you feel. Like if you want to talk about it is for a long period or short period, it's truly up to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you want to pass it.
So I'll start the questions. It's a 2-part question. So first, I think you might have answered it when you talked about your early childhood, or growing up around your family. What drew you to nursing? Did that? Well, I'll let you say. What drew you to nursing?
I had done so much care and basically been in and out of a hospital, either myself with my kids or at the bedside with my mom or my husband, that it felt very natural to just care for people. When I was in another industry and I wasn't as financially or even physically appreciated for the hard work, I thought, what am I doing? This is not where I should be. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, it was lining up the financial aspect with what I really wanted to do, making me happy. I thought I need to be a nurse. I need to go back to school. I need to be challenged. I need to be caring for people the way I know that I could care for them. Mm. And so it was, the people go, oh, you go into nursing or, oh, we know the nurses that are just in for the money. You have to be at a certain point to be able to work and dedicate yourself like that and feel rewarded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because not every ICU nurse is rewarded the same way. Our patients are in critical care and we lose them, and the families, we're there for them, end of life or anything. They're not in a state of mind to just thank you or overly, and then there are some aspects to other jobs where the patients just thank you. It's almost, ICU tends to be more thankless, which is fine because we know we're taking care of you in the worst time of your life. So the financial aspect balances that. It really does for a lot of nurses. A lot of nurses would leave because of burnout and because of that not feeling appreciated if the pay wasn't there. And we do a lot. ICU, we do head to toe. So we only have 2 patients here in California. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. Every once in a while with really, really sick patients, it'll go 1-to-1, but you are taking care of that patient and the family, everything head to toe.
You know where else I've heard that before? I have a close friend who's a funeral director. And he's shared similar things where he's got to play the role of counseling the family as well.
Oh yeah, that they are your patients as well.
Yeah. I've heard that before. Part two of that first question. How has your opinion of healthcare evolved? So like year one, what your opinion of it was. Now you're 12 years in. What's changed? Is it
And I'm sure it's a taboo area, I went from thinking it was really bedside nursing care where I could care for the patient versus this is a business.
Yeah.
It's a business.
Yeah. It's
A lot of us in certain times, we feel like we're just a number. We have people that are excellent at what they did and they're getting burned out, and our administration just lets them move on instead of really like, hey, how can we help you stay? You're valued here. No, we'll just get another one right on it.
business.
It's business.
I appreciate that honesty right there.
That's the tough aspect of it.
Wow.
It's not an easy job to be expendable like that.
No, it's not.
You'd be surprised.
And when you were saying thankless, it resonated with me as well too. Not to say that it's like that, but I've seen a couple of people pass away in hospitals in those same situations. And, you only can thank them so much. Like you said, you're in a different state of mind when someone is passing away in the hospital and you working in the ICU. You're right. It's like a unit and there's a center and all of you guys are there and there's a circular room and you guys are dedicated to those particular patients for that particular time period. And I've seen it happen. So thank you. And if you don't mind, let me ask you a question. Okay. Because
Sure.
it's common, but what's a common misunderstanding about nurses that people outside of the profession don't particularly understand?
I think as nurses, bedside nurses, and in certain situations, we are with that patient all the 12 hours, like 12 hours and 3 days straight. We know this patient very, very well. And I think a lot of the times part of the whole thing is we are the doctor's right hand. So when family members come in and they have a disrespect for what you do, or you're just the nurse, kind of burns us a bit. It is a misconception that we are less than, as far as knowledge goes, or that we can just kind of be walked all over as far as, and that really changed a lot with COVID. COVID changed the whole dynamic. Those next couple of years right out of that was they didn't trust any healthcare. And we would have almost every family member coming in there thinking that you were out to get them.
Let me talk to the doctor.
That and writing everything. What are you doing? Watching. What are you doing? And it's like, okay, I get that. But it was all the time, every single one. Like it was such a heavy shift and change in their appreciation for your knowledge and their, your value to that. It changed a lot.
If I may add, do you think that that's a part of the burnout for a lot of the staff members?
Absolutely. Well, and everything's rolls downhill. So admin, it's all these numbers, and it really comes down to what they can bill out and how they're, paid back, and number of this injuries and that, and like quality. And so the tasks just keep adding on to the nurse. Absolutely.
That sounds like
all the dollars.
I was going to say that sounds like dollars. Like, oh, they're not that hurt. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Jim.
So it does. The tasks get greater, and so the care is less, because now I'm charting for hours instead of being at the bedside.
I've heard nurses hate charting just for that.
Loathe it.
And then also, let's just be fair and honest. Administrators and DONs get the bonuses at the end of the year.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to hit you with this question. How do you balance the responsibility of the well-being for others with your own well-being?
That's tough, especially for nurses. We are so empathetic and nurturers that we normally put ourselves at the wayside. A lot of the times we are not taking care of ourselves, and it'll show up all kinds of ways, getting sick or this and that. It is truly, you have to carve out time for yourself. You have to make yourself a priority, because if you're not, then you're not able to care for others. You're not able to show up to work 100%. And you will you will burn out a lot faster that way.
Is it safe to say that to a degree, these nurses, such as yourself, have PTSD and not knowing?
Absolutely. We've had a few nurses actually be diagnosed with that through therapy.
Because you see so much of it, right?
Absolutely.
It's like a person going to war.
And it's nonstop.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, how do you process that? You just, you do.
Right.
You're there for another 12 hours the next day, and then the next day.
Yeah.
And then you go home and you're so busy with your home life that it doesn't get processed.
How long did it?
Alcohol. No, I'm just kidding.
It's
Not
the root-
alcohol.
it's the root answer.
You heard that?
Just saying.
Alcohol.
Who's
Cheers.
eavesdropping on that right there?
Come on now.
Come on now.
Cheers.
Hey, I'll
Cheers.
stick to my Starbucks.
Cheers.
I'll stick to my Starbucks. Blackberry.
Starbucks, holler at us.
Blackberry Sage.
To Paul's question, how long did it take you to learn that? How long were you not taking care of yourself before you had to learn, like, I need to take care of, or did somebody have to kind of like shake you, like, you need to take care of yourself?
Great question.
Honestly, I think when my kids were able to be adults and they started to really take care of themselves, it was like, oh, well, now I can take care of me.
Okay.
It really was. It was later on. And then you start like, massages should be included, like for nurses, like it should be part of our, our health insurance.
Could be.
Stuff like that. It's just, so then you start doing nicer things for yourself and taking some time and then you find a balance that way.
Yeah, that's cool. Yep. And then, like you said, you put yourself last because there's that instinct in you to keep wanting to help people and be empathetic and be helpful and so forth, that you put yourself to the side. What's been the most rewarding experience that you've had as a nurse, and why? Why, whatever you end up saying, why is that?
I think in the hardest times when I'm actually doing either end of life conversations, especially as rapid response, those are conversations that you have to have immediately, whether or not we're going to pursue this or let their loved one be at peace. I feel because of my years of service and doing that my entire career, I wouldn't, it's hard to say, oh, I'm really good at that. But there's a certain way that you approach families. And I've had ethics actually come to me and say, will you join us for this conversation? And I think that palliative care and that end of life care is something that I feel rewarded to do, because I've had several family members be at ease, and you can see that I've made them at ease, and they trust their own decisions when you give them that right to trust it and be okay with it, rather than making them feel like they've made the wrong decision. So I think for that, like that part of my job, as horrible and as hard as it is, a lot of doctors and residents, they don't do it as much when they're, the medicine doctors or the MODs on the floors, rather than ICU. It's continuous. It's, we see the most of that. And so I do feel, rewarded when I'm able to help them and the families, reach those conclusions, and feel good about it.
And you're way better at it now, Rylan, right? You just get better.
Absolutely.
You get better as the years go by.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can see that you're into change, which is good. You're always into helping people, which is awesome. That makes a family feel good. If there is one thing that you can change about the healthcare system that we think about of today, what would it be and why?
There'd be so many.
Really?
So many.
Is there anything that
I think the biggest thing right now in nursing is, well, at least for us, really everywhere, is staffing issues. Not having the help in the ancillary staff to help you do your job properly. Always short nurses.
Wow.
No mobility techs or CNAs, that creates way more burnout.
Understaffed.
Absolutely. Understaffed all the way around in every aspect.
Wow.
So is it safe to say you guys are constantly overworked? Is that a true statement?
That's a blanket statement
Wow.
for most hospitals and almost all nurses.
Constantly overworked.
Absolutely. not getting your lunches, not getting your breaks.
Yep.
Trying then your direct admin tries to get a lunch relief nurse, and it works for a while, but now all of a sudden it's getting taken away. Why?
Meal penalties or
All
whatever it's called.
it comes down to the dollar and your budget. And
when I first asked what your opinion was about it when you first started to now, was that one of them? Was that a rude awakening for you to know that you were going to be overworked as much as you are?
we talk about it because there's a good core of us that have been on this unit for like 10 years solid with each other. And so we've got a good team, and the nursing today wasn't even like, if just, you think just 10 years ago, we had so much more help. So much more help. And you would think now with the profits being as large as they are.
Yeah.
I wonder. Oh, you got a question?
No, I was going to say, do you think that that's due to like shortcuts, and is it technology or shortcuts, or
It's
the budget cuts?
Yeah, it's all about who's making the more money and how they're cutting the units budgets.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Or they're saying, oh, well, there's all this loss, supply loss, and they'll say it's everything else, but really I think it just comes down to their bottom line.
I wonder if they want people to die.
We don't.
Money.
No,
I know. No, I'm saying.
Ooh, we fight like dogs.
Because the hospital, like you said, the hospital's a business. But I know you guys do everything in your power.
And our doctors are really sharp. They're
Why would you say that, man? This guy
I mean, there's a truth to that.
Oh,
I understand why you said that.
I gotta shoot straight.
well, I mean, we
I've seen some
we get patients' families saying, "Oh, well, you just want to get us out of here," or "You just want, you need the room now for," and it's.
But that's insensitive conversation
No,
for you guys, especially because you guys put your heart into it. You've been there for 9 hours.
Yeah.
But look, we had a guest on the show say the same thing that you just said right now. Your boy. Shout out to Aquaman.
Aquaman. Yeah,
That's right.
He said the same thing. He said you doctors are like robots. You guys say the same thing just because you want to push out. You know what I mean? And that's the cold truth. It sucks, but
Well, and it's all in bedside manner. How do you approach it? Do they trust you?
yeah.
Because that's part of my job is to get you the family. Because our most of our patients are intubated and sedated and on life support or not of sound mind to even be. So really, I'm talking to the family. If I need them to know I'm on their side.
Yeah.
I'm advocating for you and your loved one.
Yeah.
And so some doctors don't have that bedside manner. They're in and out in 2 minutes.
Because they have
How often
so many
do you
patients.
go to a doctor's visit and they just sit there and talk to you for 30 minutes? They just they'll pull up a chair and sit next to you. The value in that is lost because of patient numbers.
The only time that's ever happened.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree. The
Doctors got roller skates on these. Hey, I got to get him out of here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's going to be dead in 10 minutes. Okay. Bye.
Yeah.
But the only time I've ever had a doctor talk to me for longer than a 5-minute period is to tell my dad about what treatments he can get for his cancer. That's it. Other than that, you're right. I've never had a doctor just talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how's it going? How's your day?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think.
Even this past year, my dad became very sickly, in and out. He was septic, and he was in and out of the hospital, getting choppered into Arizona. Anyway, all he could talk about one time was a doctor that showed up in ED, pulled up a chair, and just sat and talked with him.
That's huge.
And didn't leave the room.
It was an experience.
That's huge.
It changed his whole outlook with this doctor. He now trusted her. He knew she cared.
Yeah.
And it was just one conversation.
How has working in nursing changed your view of health and wellness on a personal level?
It's hard when you're on this side of it, when you see things happen, to trust your own care, the company that you work for.
That's tough.
That's a biggie.
Because you don't know if your company stands for something good.
Well, and you see all aspects of it, and you are their customer. I am the customer. I have this insurance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I go to these doctors. I go to, my primary care, and if I needed something or needed surgery and so you see the backside of these surgeons and the doctors and their care. And so I think it's a fine line of knowing what you know.
Yeah.
Right. And knowing that others don't know what you know.
Ooh, that could be some scandalous stuff. Who knows?
Damn.
That's I think that plays a big role into the care that you're getting as a customer.
It's pretty deep.
So,
Do you find yourself taking the advice that you give? Because you're looking out for a lot of these patients, giving them advice on
mhm.
how they should be maybe better taking care of themselves. And
Yeah. And I think part of my job is to teach the family how to advocate for themselves and I'll instruct them, ask them this. This is what you need to ask. This is what you're looking for. So that when I walk out of the room, they have some knowledge and they have some strength in order to get the answers that they need to make decisions or to move forward or to, and so I advocate for myself because I've run into my same doctors, going, oh, well, we'll just take an x-ray. I said, oh, will the x-ray show a ligament tear? Will it? Oh, well, maybe, and it's like, okay.
Damn.
But if I didn't know what I know,
Yeah, just go get that done.
Yeah.
right?
All right.
Without question. Damn.
This one's going to be a good one because I think
Money,
we're scratching
money.
scratching right there. What's the most challenging ethical dilemma you faced, and how did you handle it?
I think the most that I see that is very hard to bite your tongue, and this is hospital wide, is when a family in a whole, they're holding on to that patient for themselves, but not for the patient's wishes or needs. Or
So they're taking
desires.
into their
You threw me out.
they're taking into their
That's,
account.
Threw me on 360 right there.
That's no, we're going to do everything. And this poor body and this soul is suffering and they want everything done. And you're like, but their wishes weren't to live like a vegetable or to have this breathing tube. And so sometimes they have paperwork, advanced directives, or a pulse on file that lets the family know. And then their word stands. But most often not, they don't have that. So that family, that decision maker, that the family, it's very hard for them. It's a fine line to where they feel like, well, now if I make that decision, I'm killing them. But they don't realize, I'm like, these machines are keeping them alive. Or we get a lot of, well, if God wants to take them, he'll take them. Our machines saved him. That was naturally. And we came on scene, being EMS or whatever, and we're now keeping them alive. Our medications are, our breathing machine is. They're no longer, and then you get to a point where they can't breathe on their own. So are we putting in a trach? Are we putting in a feeding tube? Because and so there's that balance of family members will want to hold on to everything for themselves. And it's very hard for them to step back and see the situation for what it really is.
Yeah.
And those are hard conversations to get a family
on board,
to kind of understand what's really happening.
To add to the counseling that you do to the family, how much sympathy do you feel for the shot caller? Because the shot callers in a situation themselves, because now they're feeling pressure from other family, or they're feeling
absolutely
like, if I make the decision, I'm going to hear it from my brother. If I make the decision, I'm going to, and then sometimes they're the ones that probably by themselves come and seek your advice.
We do get that. We do. And there are team efforts. It's not just the nurse and the family. The doctors will sit down with ancillary teams and ethics and have family meetings, goals of care. What is our goal here? What does this, so it's all are involved when it comes to end of life, or what you really want for your loved one. Like, how do you see them, from here on out, kind of a thing. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
You were talking about technology, and a lot of things that you're speaking about right now, Corinne, I've walked through these same things, and it's just like really puts me back into the situation when my father was passing away at the Upland Hospital, and everything that you're speaking about, the position that you have is like coming to life for me as well too. So it's just like I'm living in the moment as well right now as we're going through this conversation. So, and we were talking about technology. How has technology changed the way nurses provide care these days? And where do you see the future of nursing going? with the technology changes?
God, we've had so many. We have really great charting systems now that are evolving all the time, but that also includes more expectations on charting. So those are just kind of basic things. I think we're influenced by other countries. Some really want to drive bedside ICU nursing into taking care of every aspect. Losing the respiratory therapist, now you're dealing with the breathing machines, the ventilators. Some of these hospital rooms, I think it's like Switzerland and stuff. The room itself has little mini MRI machines. And so you can one day see where they have digital doctors that just come into the room, can assess their patient, take all the exams and everything within that one room. And I think that's where it's probably going to head as the technology is to be able to have singular rooms that can do everything. They like act like a little mini OR room and can do CAT scans and MRIs and everything in one room for that single patient.
That example that you're giving, could you say that they're already doing that with
I think so.
with pregnancy? Before the baby, or the mother would be wheeled out to the delivery room, where it seems like now the room that they get, the delivery happens there. The after is that kind of what you're getting at, where it's like a one-stop shop?
Yeah, delivery and all that comes from research. What's the best case? What's the nursing research that backs why we do what we do? Are there better outcomes? So let's change up the way we do this, because it's better outcomes when we keep the mom and the baby and dad and they're bonding. It's all of that, evidence-based practice. That's something you'll hear in nursing. It's evidence-based practice because the evidence shows you've got better care, better baby bonding, better this when we do that. And so as the technology comes to, there will be more evidence-based practices change because the outcome is better.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you. AI. Has the whispers reached the nursing industry that how much AI will take over your job and your or you can already fight that off and be like, they ain't gonna be able to do this or this or that?
I don't think you'll ever get the actual observation and nurse observation and your feeling, the gut feeling you get when you walk in a room. You haven't done anything but look around and something's going on. And you can probably pinpoint several things that I don't think that will be able to be taken over AI. I don't know.
But
there are gut feelings that you get as a human that I don't think you'll ever get some computerized any scenario to get that.
But you're hearing about it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But
I've also heard that the brain surgeons are no longer doing human brain surgery because they have AIs doing it now. Because they say that sometimes when you're doing certain surgeries, your hands have to be firm. They're saying because of the machine, it's so firm that they're doing the brain trials on brain surgery.
That's possible. Not where I am. I mean, we're not there yet. Yeah. If that's, I'm sure anything like that. We've gone to robotic surgeries. We've gone, I mean, there's, instead of opening up the full body like we used to for everybody, we do laparoscopic now, little tiny incisions with robotic arms. I mean, that's practice that's already into play. So that can even further, so I think it's just a matter of time. If it's something that's created that gets better outcomes, it'll be put into practice.
It'll be implemented. Like that. Yeah. What's the most unexpected lesson nursing has taught you about human nature? It's a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, probably something I haven't really thought of.
Humanity taught me this when they're under this type of stress.
I think it ultimately comes down to when somebody's up against a wall, they're really going to only act for themselves.
I agree with that.
But I'm in a scenario or a situation that's tough. They'll make that decision that makes them feel okay.
Kind of like,
it's tough.
Yeah, kind of what's going back what she said with the the parent to the child making
Yeah,
the
and the
decision for
family.
the.
I mean, and I've seen all kinds of, and I've seen people be really, they get it, so they're able to make those hard decisions. But I think even as patients and everything, it's very self-centered. I mean, we
Yeah.
as humans are self-centered.
Yeah, we're all
And so we're
conditioned.
all going to look out for ourselves ultimately. And that is even with the people that work on the unit with you. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
Ha-
human nature.
Have you identified the psychological aspect there where it seems like the person who's looking out for himself, like in other words, it's best for the patient to go on ahead and probably leave, but it's the family member that wants to keep the person alive. Now, do you think what's going on right there is they just haven't trusted you yet?
No, not necessarily.
Whoa.
We get a lot of, I mean, and ethics can be involved in that too, but a lot of like ethnic backgrounds have
Okay.
really strong views for end of life. And so they will dig their heels in no matter how they trust you. It's their belief that this is what we do. So beliefs, the way they were raised, sometimes it's just religion. Right? Religion becomes an issue. We have certain religions that don't allow people to have blood transfusions, even though it's life-saving.
What?
Mhm.
It's life-saving.
That's true.
So I think all of it plays a role when it comes in. Yes, there's trust issues, but there's so many other variables.
Yeah, because I kind of try to put myself in that shoe there where I would say, would I try to fight? And it would be because of it's how I'm feeling. And I'm saying, I guess I would need to hear some more data. Give me some more information, some more data as to why it's the best thing to go ahead and let go and say goodbye right now. And then it kind of hit me, and I was like, well, wait a minute. If the person that's talking to me isn't doing a good job of letting me trust them with the advice, that's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
All right, switching gears.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
So you're a proponent for weight loss surgery.
Absolutely. 100%.
How has it changed lives that you've seen firsthand?
Because I had mine, I had gastric bypass over 20 years ago, full Roux-en-Y, and it changed my life significantly. After I had mine, both one of my sisters and brother-in-laws had it. My best friend has since had it, and it changed her life. And she thanks me often for really actively talking to her and the benefits. And for her to make that decision has changed her life.
What's that procedure again?
So I had gastric bypass. I had a full Roux-en-Y. Most surgeries now are the sleeve. And so it doesn't bypass your intestine, part of your small intestine. My surgery did. And so with my particular surgery, because it bypassed part of my small intestine, you have malabsorption of vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. So but they've kind of walked away from that being the number one surgery versus now the sleeve, where they don't bypass the intestine. They just make a small pouch out of your stomach.
So there was definitely a time when it was a delicate situation, but you think they're past that point now, right? And maybe it's media that puts that there's a lot of horror stories. Maybe there's not.
No, there are people that it is a risky surgery.
Okay.
I've seen, as a nurse on the other side of it, I have seen, the risk factors that you take and then you don't have great outcomes. I have seen that. I'm a proponent of doing it younger and sooner rather than later.
Gotcha.
As you stay heavy and have what we call comorbidities, your diabetes, a lot of that will go away once you have surgery. But if you have diabetes, your healing tends to be slowed down. So I encourage people that are younger that it will be a benefit. It is just a tool. It is not the easy way out. And that's a huge misconception. You have to work at it to keep the weight off.
What is that age? What's that cutoff age, do you think?
I don't think there is a cutoff age. I mean, from the time you're 18, you're still growing. Depends on male, female, you're still growing. But there are people that go into the surgery well into their 50s and 60s.
So when you
so
say
those risk factors are different.
So when you say that you prefer that they would do it younger, what is that age? That's kind of what I was. So even
I think
that
it
it's flexible.
absolutely, it's not a certain set age, because then you have to look at what else are they battling.
Okay,
So it really does depend on their picture personally.
beautiful.
Good question. What is the difference between your surgery and an Ozempic, or what's the?
No, Ozempic is a drug.
Okay.
It's a shot. It's a drug. The actual medicine is semaglutide.
Mhm.
Ozempic is just the name brand.
Oh.
But semaglutide was originally, I believe, and this is just, I haven't done a whole lot of like research on this, but it was a diabetic medicine. So it was given to a lot of people that had diabetes to help control a lot of insulin resistance and such. And so they found when even diabetics took it, they had significant weight loss. It helps you process carbohydrates, and it plays a role with your insulin. And so they started to realize that it had significant weight loss. And then here we have an outbreak of Ozempic, which is still very controversial in using it. You've got trizepatide, and now you've got some other things that are trying to do the same thing, and side effects versus no side effects, and is it worth it, and what's the long term if you lose weight with Ozempic, what's the long term, what's going to happen, that hasn't been studied because it hasn't been used as that type of drug before. So there's a lot out there.
They just finished the rats. Now it's on us. Gotcha. So what are some myths about that people have about weight loss surgeries? What are some myths?
Oh, that it's the easy way out.
That's the easy way out?
Absolutely not at all. But that's what they say. Oh, that's the easy way out. Why don't you just diet and exercise? You still have to diet and exercise to keep it off. It is a tool. It is just a tool. Just
what do you think about Ozempic then? Is that a tool, or is that like
absolutely?
Okay.
I'm a proponent for Ozempic.
Okay.
Big boy.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
What did he have?
I think he did lap.
I don't know.
I think he did lap band.
He did lap band.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the sleeve.
Same.
It's like the sleeve.
Yeah.
I believe.
Shout out to Big Boy. We love you.
Shout out to Power 106.
We love you, Power 106 and Big Boy.
Yeah. Early morning wake up calls are dope.
Oh, that's yeah. On the 10s.
Yeah, on the 10s. All right. How to respond to critics who believe weight loss surgery is an easy way out? I mean, you kind of went over it, but
yeah, but their response is they've probably never dealt with having extra weight. They've never been obese, and the whole scale of overweight, moderate, right, and obese it's pretty ridiculous what they consider obese now. Your BMI and everything like that plays into it, but most of the time they have never struggled with being overweight.
What would you consider overweight is? Or
I mean, you can look into the BMI. There's an actual true scale that they use to put you in a category. But here's the thing, if you're using weight, and it does use weight, but what if I'm completely muscular and I weigh that, but my age and everything else? So that they use that scale to still determine as a part of whether or not you are approved for surgery or certain other things. So
is it fair?
And I'm not super educated on the BMI ratio and all that stuff.
Is it fair to bring the challenge of junk food and lack of personal discipline?
Well, it's part of it. It's part of the whole process even to get the surgery. So it used to, because I had mine for so long ago, I met with a counselor one time, basically a dietitian one time. And I was on my way. I paid my portion, and there we go. And out the door you went. So nowadays, most programs are all inclusive. You have to take classes. And that's all on nutrition, exercise, dietary needs now and like after surgery, what you should hit. And so it's really, they watch you and walk you through the whole thing and the whole process kind of from start to finish. And then they check up on you after, and therapy, counseling. I mean, there's a huge mental proponent to being overweight. There just is. How did you get overweight? what keeps you overweight? Are you dealing with, self-esteem issues or anxieties? Will that go away after the surgery? After will you feel like, oh God, this is me now, like I can be me? So that's all part of the programs. Most programs now will incorporate every aspect to this new lifestyle you'll have.
Mm. There's also, would you say there's a danger in going through it and then returning? Like,
Absolutely, people gain their weight back. That's why it's not the easy way out. It's not. People gain their weight back.
Gotta
You have
put
to
the
stay
work in.
disciplined, right?
It's a
Gotta-
tool.
gotta put
It's
the work
not
in.
they're just doing the easy way out and they're going to be skinny forever or fit or whatever. No, that takes diet and exercise and
Coming out the hospital
discipline.
eating zingers.
And you'll see it.
Do they counsel people on this or no? Before you take it, before you get to they
Absolutely.
okay.
I
So
think nowadays
there's some
that is a proponent of being in that program.
Okay.
okay,
It's not to say you just walk away and do your own thing after.
Well, yeah, everybody's
Forgive me, guys. Forgive me. I'm sorry.
teach his own.
Forgive me.
that's the last question before we switch gears again.
I'm sorry.
What's
I like a zinger.
Zingers is dope.
I like
man.
zingers.
Zingers is like, man.
Yeah.
what's one piece of
Hostess.
advice
Exactly.
that you would give someone that's considering it, and they're being unsure about it, but they're considering it?
Oh, I could talk it up all day long. Go for it.
What would it be? What
Go
would
for it. It changes your life.
Okay, you know what? And I like
It is life changing. It was life changing for me. I was at least over 320.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hope you guys are eavesdropping.
And
wow.
it changed when I started to lose the weight, my confidence went up. And then I was unstoppable.
That's
I got things. I at that same time, I was like, I'm going back to school, and I put myself through school and I had goals and I had desires and now I believed I could achieve them.
What was that trigger point for you though?
As far as going back to school or having the surgery?
In terms of just everything, like when you're like, damn, I'm gonna just.
I knew I had to do something drastic.
You woke up and just like, fuck, I need to do
No, I
something.
had to do it. I had to do it for myself. I knew I was lost. I wasn't myself. I was unhappy and I could not stand living like that another day.
Mm-hmm.
Knew you.
Quick question about the sleeve thing. That's one of the procedures, right? The sleeve.
Absolutely.
Does that come off?
No, the sleeve is actually, it's not an actual sleeve, but they make a little pouching out of your stomach that looks like a little sleeve. Yeah. It's not, I know that there's been other things where they'll, like insert and it swells. No, this is still an actual surgery that changes your anatomy.
I was about to say that. So you might have the size of your stomach of what it is, but it will now be reduced.
Right.
That's another way of saying it. They're reducing the size of your stomach.
Absolutely.
So you get full faster.
Right. You can't eat as much, especially with the first few months and that first year. It's literally like almost like a 30 cc's pouch that they make. So, a medicine cup.
So Dispel.
Yeah. But you can stretch your stomach back.
I was about to say, is Dispel, how would you make somebody feel like it's still going to be okay? It's still going to be okay. Is it? I mean, because you start to think to yourself, now you really have to make sure that you're doing supplements to get more nutrients, wouldn't you say?
They'll give you a diet. It's high in protein in the beginning. It's, they want protein shakes. They want you to get your protein in. Protein helps heal. And of course they want, you to get vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. And so you may be on supplements depending on which type of surgery you have. And you really do have to watch that. Your stomach doesn't necessarily stay that small. So you will be able to eat normal, maybe not the first few months or 6 months or maybe even the year. My surgery was different, but at the same time, my sister had the sleeve done. And for a year, she couldn't even eat like a Taco Bell taco. And at that point, I was eating burgers and fries. Yes, it's not the healthiest, but I'm trying to compare the two as far as size goes. I could eat that and not have any issue.
So another question regarding that. So what is the standard size of the stomach, and then what does it get reduced to? like on
So
average?
each stomach, because at what point are you having the surgery? There's no standard. You're normally, your stomach's probably going to be stretched out at that point, and it stretches with food intake and it reduces right back down, that kind of a thing. But like I said, the stomach, the pouch that they did for me is basically comparative to a medicine cup. When you pour that Dayquil or that NyQuil into that little 30 cc, one
That's
milliliter,
crazy.
right? It's comparative to that. And I haven't looked into, but I mean, if you look up the actual surgeries and what they, I think that's pretty standard average from what I remember.
Wow.
Mind blowing.
Thank you.
I mean, I think I remember, obviously it's been so long ago. I lost 40 pounds in the first month.
What?
Goodness
And
gracious.
you're still going to the gym or whatever your routine was, or did you have a routine?
I didn't have a routine back then.
On your feet, 12 hours a day.
That's
Yeah, I was in
That was a routine.
I was in school.
Get to work.
I was in school at that time.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow. If you don't mind me just rewinding a little bit, in the conversation, and we're shifting gears a little bit as well too. And this is tending to yourself and listening to your body. You were speaking about being, overweight at a time, and how that snapped into your head. Could you give us an example or a time when your body was signaling something was wrong, and how did you respond?
Well, if we're going to compare it with the surgery, anytime I was young, I was in my 20s and my hips hurt and my knees hurt. And I didn't at that time have comorbidities. I didn't have other things, other issues. So it was the perfect timing for me was get it done now so I don't develop those things. But I see a lot of people ignoring the basic body signals. Pain is not normal.
Yeah.
Pain is not normal.
You're right.
And it is true, men will be like, oh, I'm a man. I don't need to say, whatever. Something's wrong because your body is in pain, and that is not a normal body feeling. It's your body telling you something's up.
That's funny.
Does that mean it's too late?
It's so
too?
basic.
Does that mean it's too late?
Not necessarily. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Go get something checked out and keep pursuing it. Because if it's not going away after you go see the doctor and they say, oh, it's just this, and it doesn't go away, make them do something else. I shouldn't be living with this pain. Push for scans, push for things. We have a lot of younger people we see now with brain tumors.
Damn.
They have headaches. Here's your Norco on your way out. Here's your Tylenol. Here's your regimen.
That's the business aspect, huh? Or
is that
because they don't have
or they're not presenting with anything
information?
else.
Yeah.
But if it's unresolved, or they just, a lot of young guys especially, and even girls, they blow things off and it's not right. Yeah. And they just get used to that feeling. So now they didn't even realize it. Well, that's what I feel like every day.
Do you think it's because they sleep with the cell phones next to their heads for so many years?
Right?
It is.
I mean, EMFs. Can we talk about that? Maybe not now.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that we have a history working in the cell phone industry, and that used to be a warning. They used to come inside the instructions of each phone. They used to keep your phone away from your body, and and then now we're seeing it, and it's because they're a generation that's growing up with it in their hands
all the time,
versus
every pocket.
Yeah,
right.
Wow, it's on 24/7. So this is kind of leading into this conversation. How can people become more in tune with their bodies in a world full of distractions?
You can't. No. Put the phones down.
It's tough. I think people that are young, we see a lot of people, energy drinks, right? They're just pounding them. You're not getting enough sleep, so you're just pounding energy drinks. They're full of sugar, or there's zero sugar. There's a lot of other stuff in there that you shouldn't be consuming. And so a lot of people aren't going and getting regular labs. Labs will tell you a lot. Get yourself checked up on. And so make it something that you value. You need to live in this body for your entire life, right? And so we're under seeing ourselves and trying to get that longevity. And part of that is, yes, taking care of yourself, self-care or whatever, but have it checked out. Go and get checked out. And it's those little things that like I said, people just bypass. Oh, I'm so used to it now.
Mm-hmm.
Something's not right.
Got a question.
Yeah.
You said you recommend people to go get labs. Would you recommend like a Gary Becca, a human biologist, or would you recommend like a?
Well, at this point, most people struggle with having extra finances to go do that. So if you have insurance, use your insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily have to go in and see a doctor anymore. You can email them. Hey, I haven't had labs done in a long time. Will you put in for them? Then you go into the lab, they draw it, and you get your results. You don't, there are, and like some health insurances will make you do that. But I think it's getting easier with video appointments and phone appointments.
Or teledoc.
And, you know,
Yeah.
take it,
Yeah.
take advantage of it.
Yeah.
You know, you're paying for it. Someone's paying for it.
Yeah.
So, a lot of things can be caught that way.
And you're saying go through the insurance.
Absolutely. Use your insurance. If you have means, then there's other websites that you can use and to put in fuller panels or look at different things. And there are doctors that you could go to and pay out of pocket that will run a whole different slew of things for you. It all depends on really what you're looking for. What are you going to do with those results?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the basics are great to start with the basics.
People are afraid to know the truth about their lab results.
Absolutely.
Wow.
People know something's wrong and they're afraid to know what it really means. And we, unfortunately, I lost my cousin to breast cancer and she knew it. She had signs and she was so terrified to go in and hear that.
Do you think that's a generational thing, a religion thing, a personal thing?
I think it's all in how you feel and how you're supported. Maybe you're on your own. You don't want to have to deal with that. You know, there's all kinds of things that really go into that. And she did get care and she did have chemo. And the doctors told her, hey, you know, when you get pregnant, that estrogen level being so high, it will feed cancer.
Makes it go faster.
Wow. She ended up.
That's why they tell people don't work
again.
out and all that stuff.
Yeah. So there are people out there that know and have the signs and they're scared of what they're going to be told and they ignore it.
Now, there's that fine line about when we were visiting talking about distrust. There's that fine line that they go in, they get the lab, and then there's that uncertainty that doctor just doesn't want to make a bonus off of prescribing something.
Well, labs are pretty easy knowing that those are straight numbers from your blood that day, right? They could be a little bit off if you took them 2 weeks later, right? And there's we have the web now. Look up what the lab means. You know, you do your own research. You know what I mean? Know what the lab is. What does the high mean? But a lot of people they go down, they spiral. Oh, it could mean this, this, and this. I have that now.
Self-diagnosed.
You know what I mean? WebMD all day. You hear about WebMD all day.
Well,
but if you're trying to supplement what your doctor is saying, read about it.
I like it.
Now, can I ask you, would you read about it on regular Google or is there like Google Scholar? Is that a better place to study information?
I think, honestly, even when I'm looking things into certain things or people ask me, read several. If they're all saying the same thing, it's probably the same thing. You know, you can't go off of one that says, well, this side effects are this, this, and this, but you don't see yours. But then another website says, well, that is a part of it. You know, so I would just do a little bit more than hang your hat on one website or one thing. You're going to find the same repetitive answers when it's the truth. You know,
I hear that on commercials all the time. Those medication commercials.
Scary, right?
Yeah, come on. You hear a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. What are some early warning signs that people often overlook when their health is at risk? There's got to be at least about 4 or 5 of those, right? Here's an early warning sign if you got diabetes. Here's an early warning sign if you got a heart issue. Here's an early warning sign. What I mean,
and they're different they're everything, right? You get palpitations. I remember having to explain and not realizing that my dad thought this way, but he thought the heart actually was like a pendulum, like a clock, you know, boom, 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 boom. because he was having palpitations that felt like it was knocking from side to side. Well, he had heart issues, but he thought that that's the way the heart was supposed to be.
Interesting.
Right? Instead of, it's beating from the top into the bottom, top to the bottom, right? He literally thought it knocked around in your chest. So people feel things and they just assume, well, that's how that is.
Right.
So it's interesting, but then how did he know? He thought that that's what it was. So there's that lack of knowledge, but he thought it was right. How do you know that he thought that way? I didn't. So, and diabetes has so many different other things, and you can have high blood sugar or low blood sugar. And so it's those things, your sugars will tell you if you're, where you're at as far as that goes. And so those have different, it's thirst, it's sweats, it's, the way you're breathing. And so people, it's hard to say, which is why you could look up all kinds of things and say, well, that's the same side effect for this and this and that. That's why you need to go to the doctor, because medical, are looking at every aspect, and then you put those puzzle pieces together and get that one diagnosis.
Damn.
Wow. So the question I asked was like,
there is
no
just
answer.
one little.
Goodness gracious. Wow.
It's so dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, the medical field, health and wealth, it's so dynamic. I mean, this isn't even touching on holistic medicine. So
this is why people get misdiagnosed?
There's all kinds of reasons why people get misdiagnosed.
Oh, blood, body, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many things out there.
Yeah. If you can answer this, if you don't mind, how does stress and mental health manifest physically?
Well, stress, cortisol is the high stress, and so stressor. You've got high cortisol if you're under a lot of stress all the time, and the effects that cortisol has on your body will start to manifest in different ways, and that's another thing that you can look up. And so it's different for male and female, because then you've got to think about the different types of hormones and stuff, and how cortisol plays on other things. Stressor is a killer.
Yeah.
Stress is a killer. Number one.
Silent killer too, I hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't be stressing.
Easier said than done.
Switching gears.
Yeah. It is easier said than done.
Keep eavesdropping. That's the main thing.
You are going to lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Come on.
So this topic, we're talking about travel and exploration.
Love it. Great for stress relief.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What's one place you've traveled to that completely exceeded your expectations?
Scotland.
Oh.
Yeah, didn't expect to love it as much, and I cannot wait to go back.
Damn, she answered that fast too.
Yeah, I mean, I've just started to travel. My girls are finally, adults and can take care of themselves. And I've gotten myself into a position where I try to at least take two trips a year. Some years I've done just staycations and gotten Airbnbs here. I've been fortunate enough to be able to go to some other, countries, Ireland and Scotland, and, into Mexico and Dominican Republic. And I do want to travel a lot more to Europe. I try to do one tropical and one, landland throughout the year. And so I think Scotland surprised me the most, one, because it wasn't really a planned trip. We just kind of added that on to the end of our Ireland trip. And when I went over, I thought I could spend way more time here. Why didn't, I'll be coming back, Scott.
Do you have Scottish blood?
Heritage?
Yeah.
No, I haven't really looked in. I've never done a 23andMe or anything like that, but from my name and everything is English. So who's to say?
So
I'm a mutt. We're all mutts.
When I'm thinking Scotland and Ireland, I'm thinking the climate is damp and it's kind of like maybe England. Is it?
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. What did you like? What did you like about Scotland?
You know what? Well, I went to, and I'll probably butcher it, but it's Edinburgh. And we actually stayed on close to the water. And then we actually just took a car into the castles and like the main areas and took some great, it was just interesting. There's a lot of rich history there.
Mhm.
And, taking the train was an option to go all the way up and see all the land. And that's what I would do next time. We were only there a short time. And so it was intriguing enough to be like, I'm going to plan an actual trip here and stay here.
That's royalty, darling.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was interesting. We actually went to the cathedral just a few days before the Queen died, and they took her straight to that cathedral. So when I was watching, I was like, dude, we were just there.
Oh, wow.
It was really trippy. It was really cool.
And those buildings have been there for thousands of years.
Oh, the buildings are amazing.
All right, this is for our audience right here. They're going to eavesdrop. What travel hack has saved you the most money?
There's
Or
a
time.
few. You got to kind of shop around. There's some really good websites out there.
Name one or two.
Skiplagged was one that I didn't know existed. Skiplagged will actually, let's say you're flying from LAX to New York. We'll just give that, right? But you've got a layover in wherever, Colorado. Okay. Skiplagged, instead of selling you that whole ticket, right? Whatever, they'll take the flight from Colorado to the next part and just sell that flight, even though it's the one plane taking it all the way. If they have a touchdown there, then they'll sell tickets just from that on, kind of a thing. And so it's a good way to save on airfare.
What about the quality of the flight? Because,
well, you're still flying, let's say all the biggies, Delta and American, and it's just so Delta will sell most of their tickets from the people that want to go to LAX too. But Skiplagged, right, will take just that small portion and sell it to other people to fill those seats.
Very smart concept.
It's interesting.
Is there one more that you can name?
Probably not off the top of my head. Of course, you can shop anything. I'm an Expedia fan. A lot of people like others, but I really do like to shop Expedia and get like those hotel rates and stuff, or get the rate off of there and call the actual hotel. I mean, there's all kinds of little things you can do. Be like, hey, well, I can get it on,
Sneaky.
and they will normally, match price. So, things like that. There's a little other airlines that you don't realize that once you get to this place, you can board a smaller airline and get a better price. I'm not talking the ones where you can't have, you're like this and there's no luggage allowed and you only have a backpack. But there's other flights, like Iberia is a good one to look into, especially if you're going into Europe. There's some really good little airlines out there that will give you.
By the way, Delta Airlines is on timeout. They're you saw the plane that happened in Toronto. Yeah, you can't have that.
Flip flop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those videos, those cell phone videos were pretty crazy. It was like,
yeah.
Wow.
Lady was like, yeah, don't bring your.
I'm taking the train, Amtrak. I'm taking the train.
yeah,
So
road
no
trip.
worries.
We're road trip.
Just no Delta for right now.
What is an underrated travel destination that more people should explore?
I think that a lot of the U.S. states are under visited. Absolutely, hands down. People think, oh, I've got to go to Europe and Spain, and not to say those are great. I'm just saying we have so much here to look and to explore that people think they have to make these big, huge out of the country trips when you can have a phenomenal experience right here in the States.
Right here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Catalina Island.
No joke. Like Florida and you hear all the biggies like New Orleans and, Nashville, Tennessee, and those are great, but there's some really, Idaho and stuff. Go explore. You will find things that will be extremely interesting. There was a place in Florida that was like, it was like a big, huge haunted basically city. And I would have never known that was there. And you can do haunted rides and through different buildings, and has some of the oldest city streets that are still there. And it was crazy to not even realize that was right here at home.
Memorabilia.
Yeah.
If you had unlimited time and resources, where would you go first and why?
I've heard a lot of great things about Croatia. And you got to go.
Blue Lagoon.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would probably be one of my next future trips, would be Croatia.
Croatia.
Look into it.
There's no war going on right there, is it? Right?
It's beautiful, man. It's the water is blue.
People, every time you hear them, they rave. Yeah. They rave about it.
Big soccer fans.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, that takes us to halftime.
Okay.
He said halftime.
We're gonna go into another segment. We'll be switching gears. So we're gonna get into a little bit of controversy and humor. You know, so it's about to get intense again. A little bit of
Watch
a
out.
warning.
You got your seatbelt over there?
So
Truth juice.
we asked if there were some common misconceptions or myths about work or industry, and you had mentioned that COVID really messed things up. Messed things up regarding the public's trust in healthcare, and then as nurses, you guys are trying to rebuild that trust.
It was a wicked time.
It was a wicked time.
We were in uncharted territory.
Now, here's a question that's a loaded question. Okay, was it COVID that changed the public's trust in healthcare, or did the industry do it to itself?
Social media. Yeah.
So then I'm going to jump to something right away then. So would you be a proponent for censorship?
I think that depends. What topics are we talking about? What are we truly censoring, and who's doing the censoring?
Okay. Right. And so you didn't think that the industry did it to itself with conflicting narratives or hidden agendas?
Well, when you look at the main people that were on social media and in the news all the time, were they accurate? Are they speaking for all of medicine? Right. So that's tough.
And I was about to say that.
It's tough to trust. It's tough to believe. And then there was so much we didn't know. So then it sounded like we didn't know. The industry didn't know what was really happening. And we had a lot of non-believers that it was actually happening. And they'd go, well, it's not real. Would you like to come visit me at the hospital right now? So it's tough, and I'm not going to try to change anybody's mind, to each their own.
So when you said that, so does some blame, I'm just going to throw his name out there. Does some blame go to Fauci?
Absolutely.
So in a way of saying that as well is in yourself and the industry, the nursing may not be too happy about some things he said and did. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And everybody had their opinions, and whether you were vaxxed or not got so controversial. And I know nurses, really great nurses that I worked with on a daily for 8 years till it hit, that got let go of their job because they didn't get vaxxed.
What?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Frontline workers.
They were forcing. They were first.
And even when you got, you were, they were dismissed if you had religious aspects. You had to get a form filled out and da 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 da.
Yeah.
Even then they had, well, we don't believe that about you or something. Wow. So it was,
that was the business.
It was tough.
So was it the business doing that, or was it the crisis doing that?
I think people were just ultimately scared. So when you have administration that is beyond scared and they're trying to fight for their reputation as well, they're going to implement what everybody globally is saying. Oh, well, we're going to follow them because, they're supposed to know. And what if we're doing something outside what the CDC says? Then how am I viewed like that? I think in those first few weeks, some hospitals were just refusing to even test for it because they didn't want to be the first ones with cases. So there's a lot of things along the way that could have been different, and that was being, I guess, pushed by what everybody was saying in the media.
Good.
And isn't it true that the turnaround rate for administrators is a lot faster than nurses? Like, administrators come and go just because they have to meet
certain departments.
Yeah. Okay.
Certain departments. And their certain managers of certain units are under significant stress.
Right.
So you couldn't pay me enough to be some of these roles, Yeah.
So it seems like these roles and responsibilities are number generated and not really for the health and the care of the patient.
It's a fine line. But I mean, when you come right down to it, it's you have a budget, you got a budget,
It's two-sided, right?
Absolutely.
Because they want those paying beds versus.
Well, yeah, and yes, that's, how do you have a business? How do we even run the hospital if we're not getting that money, those funds? So, come on.
Yeah.
You know, like how do we cut costs when we can't even supply what you need for that cost?
Yeah, makes sense.
That's that's where it comes down to being a business.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to say, well, you make all this money, why can't we have? Because when you really do the numbers, do we have, So it's just tough. It's a tough industry.
Double-edged sword.
What was the I'm sure that you guys got bombarded, and I say you guys, nurses and stuff, and you guys got bombarded with the natural immunity thing, the vaccine stopping transmission, the ignoring the VAERS data, right? I mean, did you hear that just nonstop?
Yeah, natural immunity and retesting for your immunity. But did you get it anyway? How was your symptoms mild? We had people that, well, they tested, they have natural immunity, but then they got it really wicked. So, I don't think that was brought up as much as just the sheer numbers of losses is what on the front lines we were focusing on. It's really tough to work your booty off for 12 hours day after day and they don't make it. And you've done everything you can. The where I work and worked through COVID was number 3 in the nation for deaths.
That's where the PTSD starts trending.
There you go.
I can only imagine.
Not only did we have refrigerated 18-wheeler semi-trucks full of dead bodies, our morgue was full. We went into our old hospital and that refrigerator system was full. You could not plan a funeral within months, so you had to keep these bodies for months.
Did it cause mystery for you guys if that wasn't occurring in other hospitals? Should it have been happening in every hospital? And when it wasn't, did that cause like, whoa, what's going on? This attacked the whole public.
Well, and different areas had different people. So when you're seeing an age range and a male ratio and ethnicity and it wasn't always, but you're seeing a majority of your patient population fitting into this category, where my hospital was highly populated with that type of patient.
Wow.
So yeah, there's going to be hospitals in other areas that may not have had that population. And I didn't, at this point, you're so on the go. I personally didn't look into anybody else. I did my job and I went home and I wanted to forget.
When you said number 3, you don't have to identify the hospitals, but where were they? So number 3 obviously was in Fontana.
New York.
Okay, New York was in.
I think New York was the other. I didn't. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Did the pandemic expose a fundamentally broken healthcare system?
I think it probably more so exposed what we do when, like, how we handle a pandemic. What are our emergency, laws or rules, or how do we handle this? We'd never handled it before. Yeah. So how do you learn? You live and you learn. Yeah, we had the flu pandemic, but it's kind of like something, well, that was how many, decades ago? Mm-hmm. And it kind of goes at the wayside. Oh, that'll never happen again. But it does. Yeah. Just like us, we forget, and you got to relearn something in life that happened so many years ago, and then it hits you again. You do the same thing. You're like, oh, so
I did that shit again.
Right?
The hell's wrong with me?
So, you learn a little at a time. Like, I'm sure they thought have all kinds of things in place now. When the next pandemic hits, will those still be ready to go?
Yeah.
How many decades will, it take? And then will that still be in place? Is it even relevant at that point, decades later? So people were scrambling and people got frustrated. Well, why don't we have something in place? Really? Mm-hmm. You can argue both sides. And I think with a lot of things, I can argue both sides because you can see it both ways.
Right.
Where's my N95 at?
Here's a strong one. Were medical professionals complicit in pushing policies that had failed the public?
They all had their own view. But as a whole, you're doing what the hospital's view is.
Right. And then the accusation of healthcare for profit over healthcare for wellness started taking a real good.
It's a fine line. It's always been, but I think it was in the limelight now.
How did you see this then when the accusations were coming out that people were getting, that hospitals were getting paid bonuses or getting paid money if the patient that happened to pass away died because of COVID? Was that right? Was that accurate?
I would never see that side of it. So I've heard that.
Yeah, right.
Heard it. I can't comment to it. I'm not on that side of it. I don't know what the hospital got paid or what they didn't. I know what the doctors were saying. Like a lot of people said, well, the doctors are getting more money. My doctors are very close. I've worked with them for 10 years. One is a very close friend of mine. Then they're just honest, and that wasn't the case for them on a direct doctor basis. So I can't really say.
Was it true that people would come in for like a broken arm and then be diagnosed with COVID?
Well, still to this day, people will come in, have a stroke, but have COVID as well. Incidentally, they'll test positive for COVID.
And if they pass,
They have it, or they'll test positive for the flu. It's the same thing. People go, oh, well, you just said I had COVID.
Now, let me say this. This is what I've learned too, is that when people are dying from COVID, they're not able to get paid their life insurance. So is that like a cop out where they're
again,
like,
it's not my forte. I don't deal with insurances or how you get paid. I have no idea.
Yeah, I've been hearing stories about that. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I think I might know this answer here. Are nurses unfairly taking the heat for that government mishap?
I think immediately we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of flack.
What do you think what's your opinion about nurses that were prosecuted, and then some of them were later released, but for refusing to give the vaccine and giving like a saline solution instead? Or do you frown upon that?
If you don't feel, if you're not a proponent of that and you don't feel right in giving that, walk away, don't do it. But don't give something fake and try to get away with it.
Okay.
That's your integrity.
Okay.
How do I trust you?
Okay.
What if I really wanted it? How do I trust you now?
Yeah. No, good point.
You know,
Good comeback. Last question, and we'll take you off the seat.
Okay.
Is the rise of healthcare skepticism a legitimate response to the corruption and misinformation?
Absolutely. People don't know what they don't know. And then they're hearing certain things, and then they find out reality or truths later that don't line up. Wouldn't you second guess that?
Right.
And that's with anything in life, though.
Yeah.
It's with anything.
Do your due diligence.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, switch gears. Let's lighten this up.
I'm like, is it hot in here?
Yeah,
No.
It's warm.
All these
So,
lights.
We asked if you had some unusual stories, and then I think you had mentioned that there's some cute, dirty nursing school stories that about patients' discharge.
Hey now.
Oh, it was very cute. I mean, things happen in nursing school that only your buddies will get, and you will laugh about them for the rest of your life.
I hear that.
And sometimes you're so exhausted as a nursing student, you're just laughing deliriously. So we did. We had one of the nursing students that I was going to school with. We would go and do our care at the hospital. And we'd only be there, not even a full shift, let's say 8 hours or so. And we would meet up after, and we'd have huddle, and we would go through like our patient list and what we learned and come to find out, this guy went into his patient's room, and his female patient said, I really want to talk to the doctor about my discharge. And he was like, oh, okay, let me go get someone to, talk to you about that. And of course, he immediately thinks vaginal discharge.
Right.
Right? First thing he thought of. We're talking bodies. He's focused on the body. And come to find out, he had to just swallow when he actually brought the doctor. And she says, yeah, when are you going to let me go home and discharge me from the hospital? And as he's telling the story in huddle, we roll.
I would laugh at that for life.
Oh my God. I thought it was the vaginal discharge.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't? He's focused on every body aspect.
know.
in school. Yeah.
He's like, hold on, I'll be right back.
Oh
Things
my
like that.
God.
He's all nervous. I'll be right back. I'll be right
Oh,
back.
absolutely.
So Doc,
That was good. That was good.
what's going on downstairs?
It was very cute.
All right. So we're going to switch gears again. Philosophical, reflective, some wisdom. So you did say this already, but getting checked regularly, labs done, it can lengthen your life. You believe that?
Absolutely. I mean, you can find things early on that you may not
So
know.
for the audience, what should people be looking for when they ask for a checkup? Is it specific to what their ailments are? Or what if somebody says, you know what? I don't have any ailments, but I want to go get a checkup.
Absolutely. Either way, I think a standard once a year checking on yourself, that's on you. Do you know what I mean? That's on you. You walk in, you request it because you want to take care of yourself. No one's going to do that for you but you. Advocate for yourself. You could feel healthy, but every year you should at least have a baseline and see where you're at. You could be, not getting enough of something you wouldn't even aware, but you've changed like your lifestyle. And the doctor say, hey, well, what have you done recently? Or what's changed? And say, hey, maybe you need to start implementing this again. Or, I mean, it could be anything. Yeah. If you're feeling off, go.
Go for sure. But even
There's always a second opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're unsure of your doctor, ask for a second opinion. But just basics. Advocate for yourself. Get in yearly for a checkup and a set of labs. It's pretty basic.
I've heard that every 90 days your blood changes. Is that true?
In what way?
Like with cells?
I mean, there's so much to blood. Just that's it's. I mean, there's all kinds of different things.
So it's not like a big chunk. It's not like a.
It's not just one thing.
Okay.
So are we looking at?
I think that person was talking about food diet or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you've got electrolytes and you've got maybe liver enzymes and heart enzymes. And, what does your actual CBC, the actual blood count look like? There's all different types of blood cells. And so when you say blood and it changes, it's too blanket of a statement.
Oh, okay.
You can't just say blood. You know what I'm saying?
For diet, I guess. I don't know.
Staying on the blood.
I heard.
I mean, and you've got all kinds
their
of
blood
things,
work
your thyroid, and that has to do with, like your food and diet. And so there's all kinds of different things you can check, and just even your basic electrolytes and stuff. So,
okay.
So staying on the blood topic, you also recommend labs. So when you go in to get a lab, is that specific to just getting your blood work done? Or a lab is something else? Or the lab is several things? What?
It can be several things, but the doctor will recommend kind of a basic lab, set of labs, and kind of go from there. If you're concerned about certain things, you mention them. She may add in extra, or he or she may add in extra labs that cover that area of the body. Or, hey, I'm feeling like this, let's, and let's not forget, young people, if you're out there and you're active, sexually active, go get tested.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you
Go
go.
get tested.
Don't be passing that around.
There's too many that go undetected and you're passing it on. You don't even know you have it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm a proponent for that too. You're young. People are out there. This day and age, get tested.
Give an example. Like that was a perfect example right now that you said, if you're young, you should go get tested for that. If you're not young, what should you be getting tested for?
Oh no, same difference.
Okay.
I mean, I speak more to the
Come
young
on, Ruben.
because they're
You
more a
still gotta
little
get tested even if you're old.
they're a little more with their blinders on. They think they're young and they feel healthy, so why go in? I think the older we get, we're a little bit more smarter about doing that, right?
Yeah.
Being
that.
safe. But
Yeah, look at your party, right? Hey, she might got
Yeah.
some. Go ahead and get yourself tested,
so
girl.
I'm just saying that
We ain't
that's
doing nothing
something
for you
that's
to
missed
test.
that should be, more often if you're more active, and people don't think about it.
Yeah.
So what I was being specific to, like for myself, let's just say I go in and I go for a checkup or for a lab. Should I just go like, is there like a set of standards? Like, Ruben, make sure that you check for diabetes, make sure you check for, this, make sure you check.
And that's kind of on some basic panels,
Okay, yeah,
those
well-
things. But the doctor should at least ask you what you're into or what your lifestyle is. Are you a heavy drinker? Do you exercise a lot? Are you having mood changes? And there's so much that can be tested. So you have to go and that's why that doctor one-on-one to just kind of walk and talk to you and walk you through what should we be looking at? Are you having these symptoms? Or you feel great and you're not, then it's maybe a little bit more basic and not as thorough. So that's kind of, it's individualized.
I'm
I
gonna
haven't
throw
had blood
I
work.
want to throw a curveball at you. I know this is a curveball, and I might be, and Ruben's gonna be upset for me asking.
Go for it.
But sometimes, like, do you think that people should seek the doctor that fits their nationality? Like, should I be seeking?
Why am I going to be?
I
Ruben's
Blame it on you.
I don't think it has anything to do with the way you're going to get treated, if that's what you're asking.
Blame
I
it on Ruben.
myself, look at you guys. Was that out in left field? It's
That
not.
was a left field,
Yo.
but it's not. He's right. He's
It's
right.
really not,
Yeah.
because people feel more close with someone who can relate to them.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Because
So
if I
if
had like a
that's-
small doctor,
That's why when you go to choose your primary, you have a list.
They do.
You
That
can
is
read
true,
their
though.
background.
That is true.
You can see their picture,
yeah,
Yeah.
and you have a background. You get to choose that
Yeah.
Sure.
in most health insurances,
true,
and
though.
that's why. Because I may feel more comfortable with this doc, but you would never. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it could be off of a name. It could be off of where they went to school. It could be off of
Area
what
where
their
they-
value is.
Yeah.
All kinds of things.
Now
That's a great question.
That's
So-
definitely normal, but like he only wants to see doctors that are tall.
Come on now.
big and tall. You feel me, doc? You feel me?
It's kind of like going to the cardiologist who's overweight.
Yeah, and they give me advice.
Like
Let me
it
prescribe this
happens.
one.
Run some laps.
Exactly.
Oh my God. All right. Switch gears.
Uh,
So philosophical, we ask if you have questions that people should be asking more in life and about work, about relationships. You said they just need to be asking why. Like, why don't be going through life walking blindly. Want to elaborate on that?
I think that's with anything in life. You want to know the meaning, like why you're doing something. I think a lot of kids, I would say, when you're parenting, don't teach their children enough to ask why, or to respectfully go against what someone says, or have respect in the way they ask a teacher, well, can you tell me why I'm doing this, or what's this for? What am I really supposed to be getting out of this? And they're just not taught. There's most children, I think, and now it's kind of changing, because you've got I believe you have a lot more disrespect in the schools, a lot more. But I think the kids need to learn to not just go, oh, okay, I need to do that because an adult told me to.
Do you think because the line of work you're in, you get to see a lot of examples of people who are walking blindly through life? Like, in other words, you say to yourself, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they played with fire and gasoline like that. I can't believe that because they're walking in and they're telling you what just happened. I was playing with M80s and it blew up in my hand, right?
I
You
thought I was
wonder
going to throw
why
the
you're
axe this
missing
way. It
some
went straight
fingers?
through her head. My granny was sitting there. Axe through.
I mean, your line of work, you got to see, right? Where you say to yourself,
You see all kinds of different levels of knowledge.
Knowledge.
We'll just say that.
Well said. All right. So give us some insight to why there's different insurances for eyes, for teeth.
Oh,
that's
is
weird.
it? If you've never thought of that, your body's one whole body, but you have different coverage for certain systems. And then you've got your eyes and your dental, right? Your vision, your dental. Why isn't it all included? Why? Why are you paying other premiums
Yeah.
for something that's included in the body? Now, that's not something I've never gone spiraling and like looked into, but just the blank statement, if you've ever thought of it, why?
Why? Let's go down that rabbit hole.
That is a rabbit hole in and of itself. Because insurance, that's a whole other cat.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now, does that the same go for the different body systems and why they're all, like you say, they're not all treated part of the same
Well, and
body?
here's the thing. Well, people will say, well, that's a specialty. Your vision is a specialty. Every system has a specialty. You have cardiology, that's a specialty for your heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got, the gastric,
pelvic doctors,
all kinds, ENT and head and neck surgeons and vascular surgeons. And those are specialties in their area. So why would vision and dental be anything different than just a regular health insurance specialty?
Yeah.
Because they can charge a premium. You want that tooth pulled? 1,000.
Yeah. You want that crown? Another 1,000.
Yeah. Root canal? Watch out.
Hello, TJ. Hello.
And there you go. That's why people go and get some crazy ass surgeries.
Oh man.
Hello, TJ.
All right. I'll throw a phrase out and then cause you put it down. So I just want to see what you mean about it. Healthcare for everyone. Yes.
Absolutely.
You think it's affordable the way you understand the business?
I think other countries and people go, well, we're not like that country, but we could change our healthcare to cover. Yeah. If you've ever been in a situation or had a loved one be sick and you weren't covered, that's tough.
Now, what some of the arguments are, but that other countries that do that is that it's overcrowded. Is that true? Are we not overcrowded now? True. Right.
We're definitely overcrowded.
But don't they say that
how quick can you get in to see the doctor now?
No, you're right.
Only if I take the ambulance.
Yeah.
So,
and that's not your doctor.
No.
He's not going to get that page. He's not going to be like,
no,
man.
Yep.
There's so many different aspects to making that happen. But I think it's ridiculous that people who are sick are not able to get that care.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
They're humans. Why are we not taking care of our people?
Fair enough.
Business.
All right. We reached the fourth quarter. If you describe yourself, you know what? What I'm finding is whenever these 3 words to describe yourself, people are doing a pretty good job at it.
Yeah.
I'll reveal it right now. Outgoing, confident, and caring. And I think that's right.
Yeah.
Because we get to know the guests as we do these interviews, and
yeah,
spot on. Guilty pleasure. You love to skeet shoot.
One of things I grew up doing it, so I do love it.
She's got good aim. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What's your favorite weapon?
It's been a while. I actually got, for me, my grandfather's shotgun actually got handed down. It fits me perfectly. It needs to be worked on now, but things like that, it's sentimental. But yeah, I did that growing up as a kid. I love anything water sports. So those are things that, the de-stressors, right? You got to find what you love. And so it's something probably people wouldn't look at me or hang out and know that I could shoot a few clay birds.
That's cool. I've never tried that.
So
yeah, that's actually pretty fun.
I've only watched it on TV in movies.
And spinning back to nursing, still keeping it light. How do Western and Eastern medicine differ in their approach to treating illness? Do you believe that one's more effective, or?
No, I think really when it comes down to, and let's just say for me, I would call it more like holistic versus, right? There's a synergy between the two, and you have to find what works for you. And it's not always going to be all one or all the other. I think just like anything, they work better when they're together.
Okay. Western medicine often focuses on symptoms management, while Eastern medicine emphasizes on prevention and holistic balance. And that's what I think you just said.
Yeah, there's some establishments are trying to get to that. Let's take care of it before it's an issue. But here's the thing. We are still in a society that will prescribe a med over gym.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why don't you?
Right.
Your gym membership should be a subscription. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they want you. They want to suppress the issue. They don't want to have you work that out and not see them for that pill?
Well, and all the medical industry and Western medicine has been built up to be a business,
Yeah,
and
they don't
so
Exactly.
I know that some are trying to get that prevention in there. It's tough. It's not integrated quite well yet.
Not treating the cure,
Yeah.
so to
Yeah,
speak.
let's keep it from even being the cause.
Another question that kind of put you on the spot a little bit. We're only one of 2 or 3 countries that advertise prescription drugs on television. What's your opinion on that?
Well, everybody knows we hear the symptoms, right, or the little side effects, and we're just like,
Rundown.
why in the world would I want to take that? But it gets people, just like anything else. We've got the name brand toothpaste and everything. It gets people because we are shoppers.
That's right.
When we go into the doctor, hey, what do you think about this med? I heard about it and it could help. Can you treat it? And really, it's just another brand name putting their stuff up there trying to get purchased.
That's right.
You hear about them brand names? I mean, listen to the names out there. It's like,
Well,
it don't make no
Ozempic is doing
sense.
a great job.
Well,
right
and
now during
and
the
I think
controversy.
there's something to when a medicine is created. There's so long that it can be under a brand name until it's actually sold under the actual medicine name.
Hydroxyphysic. What does that do?
Well, you
I
think
don't
of
know.
Bear aspirin. It was always called Bear. Get me a Bear aspirin. Well, aspirin is aspirin. But Bear was a brand name, so people would ask for it by name
Bear.
and think, oh, get me Bear.
Sounds tough, but no. We're not talking about the bear. We're not talking about that bear.
An apple
All
a
right.
day keeps the doctor away.
Exactly.
It's like Motrin,
Be healthy.
Tylenol.
It's all the same.
They're all names. They're
Those
just
names.
names.
Tomato.
2-minute warning. 2-minute warning. We got a couple questions left, and then we'll wind this down. So you did mention water sports and things that you like to, take the edge off, to, relax. But on your bucket list, you want to do scuba diving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Haven't done that yet, huh?
Haven't done it.
Where was you-
Snorkeled. Haven't done scuba diving.
Mm.
It's on the bucket list.
Where would you go to scuba dive? I heard Catalina Island is really good for scuba diving,
Even Hawaii.
Yeah.
but local.
Hawaii is great
But
too.
local,
But that's
local.
all. Yeah.
You
you
go
can
look, go on
really-
the beach.
For us, Southern California, we've got plenty of coastline.
There's a lot of oil rigs,
Right? And so I would find places, but you can do it in Mexico. What's great is you can literally plan trips around where you're going to scuba dive. And so that would be another,
Yeah.
you can plan trips around food. Like I would love a road trip and just restaurant road trip, so that would be something I would want to plan trips around other sites in other countries for scuba diving.
So when you say scuba diving, is it are you open to levels of risk scuba diving, like scuba diving in the deep, scuba diving near the shore,
In a cave with sharks.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm pretty risky, I would think.
What would you do if a large mammal swims your way?
Depends on which one it is.
yeah.
Be swimming with the manatees in Florida.
Right,
You're not allowed to touch them, but they're just big teddy bears.
That's
So.
cool.
But yeah, sharks are a whole different thing. But yeah, I'd like to really push myself if I was to scuba dive.
Excellent. Last question. I'm not sure if it's you karaoke this before, but that's very interesting. Welcome to the jungle, Guns N' Roses.
I'm not a huge karaoke person.
Can you get the karaoke?
Nope.
Oh yeah, grab it.
Welcome to the jungle. Can we get a few more of these, please? I like to karaoke from the bar. Now, if someone else is singing or something, I'll sing right there at the bar. I'm not a new country girl, but
Right on.
old school country.
Well, Corinne, thank you for coming on our show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. I thank you for opening up, taking all these questions from us, and you know what? You were shooting it straight, so I love it.
Rapid
Yeah.
fire.
Well, there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. You guys could see it was pretty intense, but it was also very informative. We love the fact that she was able to open up like she did and just pour out. We all appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. Good night.
Peace.
Eavesdrop.